Welcome to the Guide to Defense in NHL 19. Finally, something that PK Subban is good at doing. There are two parts to this video. The first part, we're going to be going over all the different tools that you have at your disposal for defense. Then we'll talk about the best ways that you can control the three different parts of the ice. One thing that I love about defense this year is that a lot of the different tools that you have at your disposal are well balanced. Last year, all the game was a poke fest. For NHL 19, they nerfed the poke checks entirely and then they rebuffed them so that they are going to be your tool to use at a distance. And that's what I show off with this first set of clips. And right before I made this video, this game was a stick lift fest. But now it seems like there is something for every situation. In this case, we're far to the side of the player, and the puck is in front of us. If you go for a hit here, you'd get burned. If you go for a stick lift, you'll probably end up hitting him in the face. Nothing but a poke check would work for that. If it's not from a distance, it's for a loose puck just like that. If it's not from a distance, the other way that the poke check is useful is poking a loose puck. You see, when it comes to poke checks, you can't trip someone who doesn't have the puck. I mentioned this in previous NHLs, but it's not as powerful as it was then, because as soon as the person picks up the puck and you're in the middle of a poke check, you can still then trip them at that point. So be mindful of that. Now, in case you don't know how to use the poke check button, it's the R1 or RB button. Now, the times that you shouldn't press this button is when there's a body between you and the puck. As I displayed in this clip where I intentionally take a penalty to show you all the times you shouldn't poke check. Though if you play the game on release and in the beta, you'd learn pretty fast when to not poke check. From here, we move on to the defensive skill stick, which was a new addition last year in NHL 18. It's done with the same button as the poke check, except you hold it down, and then with the right stick, choose which way you want to fling your stick around. I view this as a more controlled poke check, and it's especially useful in a case like this, where the person, the puck carrier, is in front of you, trying to skate behind you. This is the best thing you can do against newer players, because they don't know how to protect the puck very well, and the puck will always be in front of them. You hold your stick out, and then pretty much wait for them to run into you. But if you miss the puck, you have to let go of the button, otherwise his skates are going to go towards your stick, and that's going to be a tripping penalty from there. This is my favorite form of defense because it seems like the only times it turns into a penalty is when my opponent does a deke, like a windmill deke, and so his body gets flung towards my stick. Chances are, though, you're not going to be playing against an opponent like that who will exploit your defensive skill stick. Instead, you can use it in cases like this where I'm playing zone defense. I push my opponent to the outside, and the only play he can make here is to pass it where my defensive skill stick is ready to shut it down. Though if I was you, I would not rely on the defensive skill stick to shut down one-timers like that. What it does shut down well, however, are breakaways. If you know your opponent is gonna do a stick handle towards your player, all you gotta do is use the defensive skill stick and point it downward, and your opponent is gonna stick handle right into it. Of course, this wouldn't work if you went for the one-handed tuck or if he just stayed to his forehand side, but most players will not do that. And finally, as I'll show off later in the video, it's great for defending in the neutral zone because it forces a lot of offsides. I hold my defensive skill stick out here, anticipating my opponent's going to do a move to the left. This causes him to lose the puck as he enters the zone, which causes the late offside. He picks up the puck, and that's going to cement the play being dead. From here, we move on to stick lifting with the A button on the Xbox or the X button on the PlayStation. Before October 11th tuner, I was gonna say stick lifts are the best way to defend yourself. That's not the case anymore because they ended up nerfing the stick lift so that stick lifts from behind will usually end up being a penalty. It was very lenient before, so that's why it didn't matter like how you really did the stick lifts. It was you'd either be successful in it or you just ended up missing completely. So instead, you're going to look at these clips now to see the proper times to stick lift. And that will usually be when all that's in front of you is the opponent's stick, which basically means your player will have to try really hard to get a high sticking penalty. So the stick lift is best used when you're kind of like a medium distance between you and the puck carrier, and you're not facing the puck carrier. That part's important. The stick lift, I have to admit, was a little ballsy because I was too close and kind of looked like I was hugging the player. but this was before the patch, so probably wouldn't do that again. Oftentimes when one person stick lifts, so will the other person. So be prepared for that. Just again, make sure that you're not facing the opponent when you stick lift. The people who do it first, the earlier ones, tend to have more success because the other person's doing it kind of reacting to your stick lift and will likely hit you in the face. Also remember, you can stick lift people who don't even have the puck, which will help you get the puck first. Or people could always just run into you, you can stick lift them and then get an odd man rush like this, which was a beautiful opportunity. But the idea remains the same. Not a lot of people expect you to stick lift right here, so they also don't expect to lose the puck. And as soon as you get that stick lift, you'll take the puck and you'll be able to go into the offensive zone from there. Finally, my opponent demonstrates when to not do a stick lift, so thank you. Shout out to him for putting me on the power play and probably helping me win the game. But see what happens when my body is between the puck and the person stick lifting me? It's a penalty. There's not much more to it. So don't stick lift at those times, and also protect yourself if you have the puck. Here I mix and match the defensive tools, but something to also keep in mind is if you're standing between the puck carrier and the puck, like I'm about to do here, you can take the puck away without even stick lifting. So try to position yourself like this as much as you can, because you'll never get a penalty for not touching any buttons and just skating into the puck. Up next is hitting, and hitting is done by skating towards the puck carrier and then moving the right stick in any direction. While you could launch yourself into the puck carrier like I did in the previous clip, it's not recommended you do that because of the small chance of a charging penalty. So I would avoid doing that unless you're playing EA Sports Hockey League where that penalty does not exist. There are two ways that I use hitting. First of all is when I can predict where the puck carrier is going to be when I end up hitting him. That happens in this case because I anticipate the pass, I line up the hit, and as soon as I see that pass going towards that player, I go for the hit. And you know, throw in a little bit of timing in there too. I wanted to show that clip twice because of how well it resonates exactly what I'm saying. Here's something similar happens, but I want to teach you guys the importance of these little hits. You don't have to get a big hit for the puck carrier to lose the puck. And that's very important because if you're in very close range, in hugging distance as I'd like to call it, all you have to do is just push on the right stick in any direction and you'll push the opponent, causing him to lose the puck. So if you know that your opponent is going to be in a certain position, it should be an easy turnover in your favor. Just be wary of those people trying to burn by you, or else you'll never find out who put the body in the bayou, because it could have been you. Seriously though, it's better to use these little hits when the opponent doesn't have that much speed or that much momentum on them. From here, we're going to move on to hip checks. Hip checks are hits, except they're done with your butt. There are two reasons why you would want to do a hip check. First of all, it's one of the best tools that you have along the boards. You can just slide up or down the boards with your butt out, crash into the player, make him fall down, and easily take the puck from them. It also seems to get in the way of a lot of passes like it does here. The way you do a hip check is you push in on the right stick, so R3, and then press left bumper or L1 depending on your console. So you hold down R3 and then you hold down the bumper or L1. You don't push them at the same time and you don't start with LB or L1. And I just love how dynamic it makes the game on defense, because something like this will happen on the forecheck, causes my opponent to lose the puck and it almost ends up into the back of the net. I mean, in the end it does. So it worked out. The last thing that I want to mention about hip checks, something that women tell guys all the time: size doesn't matter. That means you can take players like Johnny Gaudreau and still dish out big hits thanks to the help of hip checks. The other option you have along the boards is tying people up along them. This only works if your opponent has their back turned toward you. When he does, you can hold down the Y button or the triangle button to create an animation like you'll see here along the corner boards. As soon as this happens, let go of that button completely, because if you hold him down for too long, it's going to be a holding penalty. Some of the top defensive players like Odie are just absolutely amazing at doing these tie-ups at just the right time. But if someone's just barreling down the boards full speed, you'll likely not be able to get them. From what I found, your best chance of success for this would be those people who decide to turn around with the puck once they enter your zone. From here, we move on to the crouch block, which is done with the L1 or LB buttons. It's used to block a pass or block a shot. In my opinion, it's better done when blocking a pass because your body's already in the way to block the shot, so you might just be leaving yourself vulnerable to a high shot if it ends up going over your head. When it comes to blocking passes, however, it's absolutely sinister on the forecheck blocking those passing lanes. It's a big part of my forecheck, either keeping the puck in his zone or just stopping him from making the pass. In previous years, when you were to do this pretty much right in front of a person, it would be really hard to trip them. It was possible, but it was really hard to. This year, as soon as they go over your stick when you do that, it's a tripping penalty. So keep that in mind. Only try to do it from a distance so that there's no chance for that penalty. Also, like the defensive skill stick, you can control which way you have your stick out when you go to crouch. And that is done with the right stick. You can do that in any direction. Up next is the stick whack. This is done by pressing the right stick in, R3, and then pushing it in the direction you want to launch the puck. Stick whacks are useful when there is a loose puck and you know your opponent's going to get to that loose puck first. You kind of have an extended reach that allows you to make the first move on the puck before your opponent. Or if you're like hemmed into your zone and you're going to get to the puck first, but your opponent's definitely going to do something to you as you get the puck, whether it's hit you or tie you up along the boards, you should do it then too. It's a very underused tool in the NHL series. There are another 2 ways that you can use it. If someone dumps the puck's about to land in the feet of your defenseman, you can stick whack it so that your player has a much easier chance of picking up the puck. The other use for it would be stick whacking it into the offensive zone, either behind the center line or from the defensive zone. It's never gonna be an icing. So use that to your advantage if you're trying to kill time or you're trying to get a line change. Up next is a tool that I absolutely hate using and is only useful in EA Sports Hockey League when everyone's a human. And that's going to be tying up players' sticks by holding down the A button on the Xbox or the X button on the PlayStation. So first of all, if you don't do this in front of the goalie, it's going to be a penalty every time. And second, the only time to do this is when the person you're doing it to is about to receive a pass for the one-timer. In any other game mode, it's absolutely useless, and it's very hard to do. You must be a god to like time it properly. The AI will do it for you plenty of times, however, so just know it exists. Now, an even more useless thing is net battles, which is done by holding the Y button or the triangle button. AIs will do this all the time. What ends up happening is just 2 players are shoving each other in front of the goalie. I would teach you guys the controls on what to do when you're in a net battle, but because it's so hard to get into one yourself, it makes it kind of useless. So just remember to press LT or L2 to spin out of them as much as you can. Now, an additional tool that you can use is manually switching players. This is important to get the person that you want as quickly as possible so you're not cycling through and panicking trying to get the person that you want. I go over that in the new player switching mechanic explained video, link is in the description. So now we're gonna head into playing defense in the different areas of the ice. I'd recommend you guys check out my strategies video and set your strategies to that to make it easier for you to play defense the way I show it in the video. When it comes to forecheck, defense in the offensive zone, this year it's significantly harder to forecheck. Your AIs are useless and won't be able to do anything but stand there for you, which is why an aggressive forecheck is not the way to go. With the 1-2-2 passive, your job is to take away the passing lanes. This will leave the opponent with the only solid option of going in with his defenseman coast to coast, which is okay. But if he were to pass it, you have to greet him with an interception. When I forecheck, I try to grab a player and move them toward an opposing player and stick to him. If the pass does get to him, you have a bunch of options available to you, and you'll know what those options are before your opponent even gets the puck. That is because he hasn't had the chance to do anything yet. Usually a big predicted hit will do the job, but you can also poke check the puck like that before the opponent gets it. My other set play on the forecheck is creating what I like to call this forecheck illusion. everyone from the worst players to the best players seems to fall for this, so you want to get in on it early. It works when you have two players in one passing lane. With the top player, you want to purposefully move him away from the passing lane as if you decided to cover something else. This causes your opponent to instinctively pass the player that he thinks just opened up. Then switch to the bottom player and get him into the passing lane really quick to intercept the pass. Easily one of my favorite plays this year just because of how different the forecheck is. When it comes to neutral zone defense, your objective is to stop your opponent from crossing the blue line. Usually this means standing directly in front of him. When he has AIs charging down the ice, he may try to do a move, and as he's doing it, the AIs will go offside, giving you puck possession if you win the faceoff. Otherwise, what you want to do is pressure him into the boards, usually with the defensive skill sticks that he runs into your stick, causing him to lose the puck. That, again, could lead to an offside. Once he's along the boards, you can go for a little bump, not a big one, that's a boarding penalty, or if he decides to turn around, you can tie him up along the boards. If your opponent decides to turn around before entering your zone, don't chase him too hard, because he may be looking to pass to someone with momentum to enter the zone instead. You won't see that from a lot of weaker players, but the top players will certainly abuse that. Up next, as part of the rush, we're going to talk about what happens when your opponent does enter the offensive zone. What you normally want to do is stop your opponent from going anywhere near the center of your zone. We call that the slot. So much like in the neutral zone, you want to force your opponent to the outside toward the boards, where it doesn't matter what kind of shot they take, it's usually going to be a low percentage shot. That means you can let them take those shots as much as possible. In a case like this, he cut back towards the middle but took a bad backhand, and you're free to let him do that too. If he's on the forehand, that's a far more dangerous, and that's when you really want to get close to him and stop him from taking that shot. A lot of people also won't have many options. This guy just opts to take a quick shot, which will probably never go in, so let him do that. You want to watch out for the people that wind up their shot by pulling back on the right stick, because those are the shots that have a higher chance of going in. And the second thing you want to do when defending the rush is taking away the pass. If you get into a situation like this, one defender, there's two forwards, the pass is a lot more dangerous than the shot usually. At least it's very much true in NHL 19. If the person's on their backhand, it's even more true. It's very tough to score on the backhand in this game, so you can let them take as much backhand shots as you want, unless you're convinced he can score on the backhand. So you try to take away the pass, and as soon as it looks like he instead is going to choose to shoot, that's when you come in and you either hit him, or you block the shot, or you poke check something just to stop him from shooting. That's why odd man rushes are difficult to defend, because they have two options. They can shoot or they can pass, and you have to try to take away both of those options. If you have teammates coming back on the back check, definitely take away the pass and hope that they're going to bump into the opposing player to take away the shot as well. Finally, another odd man rush. The puck carrier is going to have a difficult time scoring from there, so you absolutely want to take away the pass. There are some people that can score with the one-handed tuck, so if you do see that, you may have to stand a little bit closer to the puck carrier to make sure that he doesn't do that. But I'd only watch out for that really in the higher divisions, or if you've seen him try to go for it before. And as you see here, this kind of defense is useful even in EA Sports Hockey League doing threes. And you're definitely going to see this kind of defense way more in that game mode, just because of how many breakaways and odd man rushes that you'll see. Always just stand in front of the puck carrier, make sure the puck does not get to that puck carrier, or if it does, you're in the way, ready to pretty much block the pass or make it so you can't shoot. One thing to watch out for are players who go for low rebound shots. I don't show it in this clip, but what you want to do is take away the passing lane and also stand in front of the goalie, so that if it were to bounce off the goalie, you can pick it up real quick so that my opponent doesn't get an easy empty net. Finally, we have defending the cycle, or basically defending when your opponent has been in the zone for quite some time. The same idea is going to apply. You want to defend the one-timers more than anything. You don't want to be chasing your opponent around, whether it's behind the net or along the boards, because again, those are places where your opponent is not going to be able to score. You have to predict passes, like I do as Cyan over here. I knew he was going to pass it to the middle guy, so I go in for the big hit. Make sure not to overextend yourself too much, because what if he decides to delay the pass a little bit? Well, he would have gotten crushed by red there, but in other cases, you'll be out of position and not able to defend yourself against that play. Then again, defend yourself against anyone cutting towards the slot, because that's the most dangerous place where they can shoot and score. Start with having my defensive skill stick out here, and as he gets closer, my defensive skill stick missed, I go for the hit instead so that he doesn't end up taking the shot. Defensive skill stick is a huge friend here during those times where you don't think that you'll be able to reach for the puck. So I don't have a lot of examples of defending against the cycle, but remember what I said. Stay patient, take away the passes, cover the slot, the middle of your ice, and with the strategies that I had you guys use, your players will automatically try to block shots without you even wanting them to do so. It's better for them to block shots because that means the goalie will see far less action. It cuts down on a lot of those BS goals that you see where the goalie probably should have gotten it. Anyways, that's the ultimate guide to playing defense. Let me know if you guys have any questions or need any additional help. Use the comments for that. I'll be back with more NHL 19 videos.